Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and thank you for tuning into Salam Radio on 106.2 FM. I'm your host, Shaz Nawaz, and I have with me in the studio,
Kieran Bateman.
How are you tonight, Kieran?
I am fantastic. All the better for having seen you.
Likewise, and it's good to have you back after a couple of weeks. Always seems longer when you're not here.
It always seems longer not being here.
Yeah.
I miss it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Good. And we enjoy having you here as well, of course. As always, we would love for you to participate, ask questions, get involved, engage, be part of the show, because this show is yours as much as it is ours. You can call us on 01733602133 if you want to ask a question or if you want to share an observation. You can text us on 07411 191 062 or comment on any of the live streams which are on Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, or Twitch.
So lots of ways to get in touch. And we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely, we always do. And obviously people usually do interact with us, and it makes it more enjoyable, doesn't it?
Really appreciate it.
Because we're here for them. This week on Wealth Made Simple, we're talking about the art and the importance of storytelling and how you can use that to build more wealth. Now, that's interesting, isn't it, Kieran?
Yeah, when you think about it, everything you do is a story. Whether it's a short story, whether it's a long story, when you're a kid, you go home. Oh, what did you do at school today? You tell the story of what you did at school today. When you want to embellish something because you want to make someone seem lesser than they are, you want yourself to seem bigger than you were, you tell a story and you fabricate the story, parts of that story. When you talk to yourself,
or if you want to minimize because you don't want to expose or share who you are for whatever reason, so you minimize yourself, and again you
maximize others.
And then you fabricate a story and take bits out that you don't want to share with people.
Yep. And here's the most important thing about storytelling, or one of them, is that when you talk to yourself about who you are, what you want, how you're going to achieve it, you are telling yourself a story.
That's the most important type of story.
And that's precisely my point. So everything comes down to storytelling fundamentally, and in my world there are three bastions of generating wealth: sales, marketing, storytelling. But storytelling covers both sales and marketing.
Yeah, and probably be going further because I think both of us use the word fabricate.
Yeah.
What we meant by that is the story's changed, and Karen and I don't endorse fabricating any story whatsoever. We think you should tell the story as it is. But sometimes people take out bits because they don't want to share because they think it's not relevant, or they don't want to tell people certain things because they don't want them to have the wrong impression. So that's why we use the word fabricate, as opposed to make stories up. That's not what we're talking about.
No, I completely agree. And also, don't forget that every story that is told is being told from somebody's perspective. Yeah. If it's not your perspective, your experience of the same event may have been different. The age-old, you've got two people stood at either side of a parking space. One's telling you that the number in the parking space is 9. The other person on the other side is telling you it's 6. They're both correct. It's just different perspectives. Yeah. And understanding to respect other people's stories, other people's perspectives is important. But you can't, even though somebody's telling you as fact, it's as fact from their point of view. Yeah. And always remember
And
that.
You probably heard me talk about a beach ball. Yeah. You're seeing red, I'm seeing blue, somebody else might be seeing yellow or green, and that's their perception of what they see at that time.
Yeah.
But I think what's really interesting, Kieran, is when you look at people who are really successful over a long time, what you find is when people talk about them, they usually share a story.
Yep. They've got a fantastic story.
Okay. And the longer that story goes for, a decade, 2, 5, 100,000, whatever, okay, the more successful they are in a way, as in whatever they want to achieve. And if you look at the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, okay, the Gita, any other books, okay, what are they? Stories.
They're stories. And a lot of it, whether you believe it to be true, whether you don't believe it to be true, whether you follow one particular teaching or another particular teaching, fundamentally, and this is just my opinion, I believe they are all telling the same idea. Be good to one another, and look after one another. treat others the way you want to be treated, fundamentally.
Yeah, of course they are.
And it's a lot more nuanced than that, obviously. But this is not the platform.
In its simple form. In its simple form.
In
Right?
its simple form, look after one another, be good to one another. Respect one another. Okay, fine. I can completely get behind that.
Yeah.
And but they're all from slightly different angles.
Yeah.
And you do what works for you.
Absolutely.
Now, what's interesting about all of them, and this leads us on to our next point about stories, is a lot of them tell moralistic stories, how to be a good human being. But they're fundamentally very, very similar. Do you know why that is?
Why is that, Kieran?
Because there are 7 stories. There are only 7 stories.
Yes.
And people are like, no, but I've seen 20, 30 films. I've read hundreds of books. Okay, in your hundreds of books, in your thousands of films that watched, the plots are part of 7.
Which is the one we're going to share. And
And
every
that's what we're
movie
gonna
is
sell.
a story.
Yeah. So I mean, plots. For a start, you've got overcoming the monster. Now, you might think, okay, there's a
David and
couple of things.
Goliath.
David and Goliath, Beowulf, Theseus, Perseus, Dracula, War of the Worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of these are about overcoming a monster. Star Wars, Harry Potter. Yeah. Now, the way the story is told, the details of the story are different, but the plot is the same. They're all overcoming a monster. And the definition of this is you have a protagonist, they set out to defeat an antagonistic force that's often evil, that threatens their homeland, their loved ones, something like that. They have to fight it. And
they usually tend to have some kind of a guide or mentor.
Yeah.
With Yoda, Obi-Wan, with the Karate Kid, all the other movies that we've seen.
Dumbledore,
Exactly.
Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Miyagi. Yeah.
There's always an older, wiser mentor that steers them in the right direction and keeps them on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, which is something which we talked about a lot, as you know, in terms of building wealth, is have a mentor and a coach. And
And the
stories
follow this.
amazing,
The next plot, rags to riches. Yeah,
the one that's probably the most well known for most people.
Yeah. I mean, the first one that springs to mind, Cinderella.
Yeah.
Aladdin. Yeah. Disney did a lot of work on this.
Disney are the masters at this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Great Expectations, David Copperfield.
Yeah.
The Ugly Duckling.
Yeah.
And
all very well known, aren't they?
And there are 2 kind of very similar versions of this story. The first is that you start off with a poor protagonist and they acquire power, wealth, and it corrupts them. And because it corrupts them, they lose it all. And then they gain it back, growing as a human being, growing as a person as a result, to become benevolent, become good with that wealth.
And addressing their weaknesses.
And address their weaknesses. But they've got to gain it, to be corrupted by it, to lose it, to gain it back. And very, very rarely there are instances where, and in stories, Cinderella is a prime example of this, where she has just gone straight from rags to riches because she's always been a good person in the story. So, and her riches, she's downtrodden to begin with, and then she acquires wealth and power and is still a good person. So she doesn't have to go through that second round. But the majority win, corrupt, lose, win, do well.
And it's all about struggle.
Yeah.
It's about that jihad, as we talked about, which is one's own struggle and growth and development. And I'll tell you where I got started on this many, many moons ago. Was a book by Joseph Campbell.
Okay, yeah.
The Hero's Journey.
Hero's Journey, yep.
Yeah. I thought, wow, because because you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
And that just opens your eyes. Wow, there's a certain technique here to doing these things here, which helps you to better connect with an audience and everything else, which we're going to cover in the second half, because the first half we're just going to talk about the different plots and stories, and then we'll link it to making wealth, because that's what this episode's about. But it's interesting when you learn that stuff, you get to realize there's more to this than meets the eye. 'Cause usually, you say somebody, tell me a story. Once upon a time, and
Yeah.
then but when you realize there's an art to this and there's different ways to capture the imagination of your audience,
Yes.
it's a game changer.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Because if you're smart about it and, you've got, say, a sales letter that's telling your story, if you craft that properly and diligently and don't lie, don't fabricate it, but you can make your story fit any of these plots.
Yeah.
If you can do that, then your story now connects with different people in different ways, depending on which plot they prefer.
Yeah, and
everyone has a favourite.
in the world of selling, although we'll talk more about it in the second half, is I was always told facts tell, stories sell.
Yes. And
some people flip that, by the way, but I think it's so true, because think about the real good movies that we've seen. It's the ones that move us emotionally.
Yeah.
Because it's a bloody good story.
Yeah.
Kieran,
yeah.
Some make people cry. I mean, that's not me, by the way. But some movies make some people cry because it's so emotionally connected.
Yeah. Yeah. You take any of the big disaster movies. Yeah. You look at Armageddon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Titanic. And I say disaster movies, but
yeah,
there are moments in there that just tug on your heartstrings.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got no problem admitting this. I watched.
I can't imagine you being sat there and crying, by the way, Kieran.
Not to.
I might be wrong,
but this one's based on a true story. It's called Hatchie: A Dog's Tale. It's a Richard Gere film.
Yeah.
And forgive the spoilers, but it's based on a true story. A Japanese Akita gets lost, picked up by a family. The family look after it.
Yeah.
And the dog follows the man to the train station every day. People recognise the dog because he's always there, and the dog is always there to go to the trains to meet him off the train when he comes home from work. Okay, fine, nice story, very, very, very warm until the end. And I mean, I've got no problem admitting this broke me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But dog follows the man to the train station, tries to stop him getting on the train. Tries to pull him home. The man gets on the train. Tragedy happens. The man doesn't come home. The dog doesn't leave the train station. It stays there until it dies. And it's just that the way it's crafted.
Yeah.
But just telling that, you can feel the emotion of that.
Yeah.
It's a very emotive story.
Of course it is.
And a lot of people will connect to that because we're a race of
we're a nation of dog
animal
lovers. Yeah. Dog lovers.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just interesting that it's based on a true story, but it's still a story. Yeah, and it still falls into one of these plots. The next one is The Quest, which is one of my favorites.
Another popular one, yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorites. The protagonist and a company of friends set out to acquire an important object or get to a location, and they face temptations and other obstacles along the way. You want one of the biggest versions
Indiana
of that?
Jones comes to my mind.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I'm more Indiana Jones, by the way, than Lord of the Rings.
Which is fair, but that is. I mean, they acknowledge that it's a quest.
Yeah.
Which is, something you've got to go through.
Yeah.
Voyage and return. The protagonist goes to a strange land, and then after overcoming the threats and problems that it poses going there, he learns important experiences and lessons that are unique to that location, and he returns to his homeland with those experiences, and it made him grow.
Again, a popular one.
Yep. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Orpheus, The Time Machine.
Peter Pan, Lion King.
Yeah, all of these. Gulliver's Travels. It's, there are so many representations of this basic plot.
Yeah.
And this is a key point, because a lot of people challenge me on this 7-story thing, and I've had people say, "Oh, that's not true. There's so many different stories." It's like, no, but look at the overarching basic plot.
Yeah. There are only 7, yeah.
There are only 7
that I've come across anyway, and I've kind of searched for this for years, if you know what I mean, to come across it.
This is something I have studied. Then there's your comedy. It's a light. You've got a light and humorous character with a happy, cheerful ending. A dramatic work in which the central motif is the triumph over adverse circumstances, resulting in a successful or happy conclusion.
Yeah.
You know, Bookkeeper stresses that comedy is more than humor. You know, and it is comedy. You look at some of the ancient Greek comedies; they're not just slapstick. They're not. There's more depth.
They're deep. They're deep. Yeah.
You know, and A Midsummer Night's Dream, one of Shakespeare's comedies.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily funny, but it is a comedy.
Yeah.
You know, so and you know, The Big Lebowski, Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah.
You know, they're not generally referred to as big laugh out loud comedies. Humor and comedy are two separate things.
Of course, yeah.
And I think a lot of people
sometimes can't
get
distinguish
that.
because they don't fully understand, appreciate, recognize the difference.
Yeah. The majority of romance films fall into the category of comedy.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, Bridget Jones's Diary, it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Not a romance. Well, it is a romance, but sub comedy romance. Yeah. Overarching plots we're looking at here. Tragedy. I think we're all familiar with this style of plot.
Yeah. Well, we go through this, don't we, now, our lives?
Yeah. The protagonist is a hero with a major character flaw, or he's made a great mistake that was ultimately their undoing, and he's in the unfortunate end falls, and it evokes pity at their folly and the fall of a fundamentally good character. You know, Bonnie and Clyde, Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
You know, The Great Gatsby, Hamlet. These are all tragedies.
Romeo and Juliet.
You know, and that's you know that's you watch someone making mistakes, and it's mistakes that could be avoided. Very good lesson to learn in sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Watch other people make mistakes. Yeah, and then finally you've got the seventh one, which is rebirth. An event or forces the main character to change their ways and often become a better individual. Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast. Crime and Punishment. The Frog Prince. You know, The Secret Garden.
To name but a few.
And so there you have it. Seven overarching plots that, you know, condense. You name a film, a book, a story that you've heard.
Maybe one of these 7.
I can put it into one of these categories. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Now, there is a second part to this story craft, which is, so you've got your plot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, question for you. Are you applying the rule of 3? Rule of 3 is incredibly powerful. You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's not an accident.
It's like a formula to make it easy for people, isn't it?
Yeah.
A concept.
Yeah.
A method. A technique.
Yeah. And people are, you know, rule of 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So you instantly think, you know, what are the rules of 3? And on a very basic level, it's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yep.
Capture the audience in your beginning.
Yep.
Understand, and we'll go more into depth in this afterwards, but capture your audience, tell your story, give a conclusion. And if it is just storytelling you're doing, try not to offer an opinion. Let people make their own opinions.
Yeah, use their own imagination.
It's why I think that The Matrix, the first film, was fantastic. In my opinion, it should have been left alone. Shouldn't have had any more. I enjoyed all the other Matrix films. I really did. But I think as a thought process, as a concept, yeah, the very final line of the first Matrix film is, "I've awakened this. This is a thing now. Where we go from here is a question I'll leave for you." End. It's very thought-provoking. It's very provocative. It makes you think. It makes you want to delve deep. And then you went on and made other films. So you told people what happened next.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah.
You didn't let them
Choose their own
choose their own direction.
path.
Yeah. And okay, fine. Like I say, I do love the rest of the films. I think they're fantastic. But from a storytelling perspective rather than a money-making perspective, because let's be honest, The Matrix was a hit success. So, of course they made more films and I enjoyed them. But from a purely story perspective, you should have left it at 1. For that reason, because it makes you think. And that is one of the key aspects of storytelling, is making someone think and trying not to give your own opinion.
Or to take them down a particular path or make the... I don't think that's a problem taking down a particular path.
No,
but let them reach their own conclusions and make their own judgments by giving them enough information and ammunition to think independently. I think that's one of the best gifts you can give anybody, anyhow.
It's why politics fails so badly with the general populace, is because you've got people arguing over their own opinions, and they're not telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you, they're selling you fear, and going, but this is my opinion, and this is how I fix it. Okay, great. That's not a story I want to listen to. Bored now.
And yet, if anybody can think of some of the most popular leaders of any time,
they tell stories.
And I'm not going to name any of them, but there's a few. Some of them might not be very popular, but they were all good at telling stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they had a pretty good story themselves.
Yeah, completely. And and a good story can distract from a bad person, and that's what some of these leaders have done.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to name any because I think we both know who we're talking about.
There's quite a few of them, isn't there?
Yeah. But they tell a great story. And that's powerful. Stories are power. And short history lesson now. You go back pre-written word. How was information passed on?
Verbally.
Okay. Was the information passed on verbally in facts? So, Shaz, I need you to learn how to farm the land. You need to plant seeds, water seeds, grow seeds, harvest crop. Got that?
Got it. Yeah.
Now go tell your children.
You go. Yeah.
Off you go. Or did they... Right. When you plant the seeds, you need to do it in this way and do this and tell the story and craft the story about how to feed a village.
That's right.
Which sticks with you more?
The one that...
the story.
Has the story to it. Because
you connect with it emotionally.
And here's another interesting thing, by the way. So, as you know, from my start as a platform speaker, what I got really interested in was how much information do people retain?
Very little.
Exactly. As a speaker, you want them to retain as much as they can and more. Because what people sometimes don't realize is that whoever delivers a speech, if they're really serious about it, they're professional, they want to give you information in bite-sized chunks in a particular way for you to keep it and use it and benefit from it. And as I started talking to people, the only thing most people remember after, let's say, 6 months, I don't think they remember, for the majority of people, was the good stories or parts of the story that a speaker told them.
Yeah.
They forget all the facts and the figures and everything else, okay? But say, oh, have you heard of that speaker? Yes, I have. Okay. What was you talking about? Oh, what was she talking about? Oh, she told the story about da 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 da. That's all people remember.
Yeah.
Stories stick, my friend.
Oh, they absolutely. I mean, prime example. Stories and phrases.
Yeah.
They're what stick. We've said it before. We've said it a number of times. Good friend, Rob Moore.
Yeah.
Your net worth is your net worth.
Yeah.
Your network is your network.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry. Good friend, Paul Beck.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he stole this from somebody else. And I'm sure don't.
Everybody takes everybody's stuff.
Yep. When you change when you choose to change your path, are you going to do it one day, or is today day one?
Yeah.
Shaz Nawaz, my mentor.
Yeah.
Cufflinks.
Yeah.
The cufflink story.
Yeah.
I want a solution to this problem. Okay. And
we talked about today, in fact, because as you walk down the stairs, most people have been to our office, as you know, the lights downstairs. which wasn't our design, Kieran, which was
No,
somebody
it was
else's
not.
design when we were going to the building. And when you come in next time, I'm going to show you something really interesting. In fact, I'll share it now. So RC has now put a light halfway down the stairs, okay? So you can walk down the stairs. And for 3 years, we've been walking up and down in the dark, haven't we, pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I said to us, oh, why didn't I think of this 2 years ago? Or Kieran or somebody else? Because the coupling story, you think, go downstairs at 4 o'clock and turn the light on.
Yep.
Because why don't we put something halfway? And it might sound obvious to some people, but, to us, it wasn't that obvious, was it? Do you know what I mean?
No. And when we get back after the break, the first thing we'll do is share the cufflink story with everyone, because I think it sticks. And I think it's brilliant. And it highlights different ways of thinking and why it's important not to get pigeonholed in your own brain and your own story.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the first half. And the second half, we're going to talk about what you just said and also talk about how to create more wealth to it. So please join us after the break, where we're going to break down this topic and make it more wealthable for you, if that's a word.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Isha Azan. This Azan is sponsored by Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
Find us on Facebook at Salam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening. If you've just joined us, thank you for joining. And if you've rejoined us, welcome back.
Welcome back.
You're listening to Salam Radio 106.2 FM. I'm your host, Shaz Nawaz, and I have my co-pilot here with me.
Kieran Bateman.
How are you, Kieran?
I'm all good.
Good. We've covered that in the first part, haven't we?
We did.
As always, we welcome your participation. So please do so by calling us on 01733 602133 or text us on 07411 191062, or you can comment on any of the live streams on Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter or Twitch. And our audience has been fairly quiet today.
Yeah.
Haven't they, Kieran?
Yeah. So it's all very quiet.
Yeah. Usually somebody
Yeah.
posts a comment somewhere else.
Post in, tell us a story.
So, tell us a story. Because on Wealth Made Simple this week, we're talking about the importance and the art of storytelling, which is incredibly important. So, Kieran, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, sure. So,
Or just remind people what we covered?
yeah. So before the break, we were talking about the cufflink story.
Oh, yes, we were, yes.
Yeah, and this is something that you told me.
And someone told me, but yeah.
Well, yeah,
Stories always get passed on.
yeah, stories get passed on, and you know, different people take different things from different stories. For me, I took from this story that you can't get a new result with the same old thinking.
Yep.
And sometimes, yeah, keep things simple, keep it straightforward, and don't be afraid to listen to others' opinions. So, to put that in context, the cufflink story is a man wakes up on his wedding day, and you know he can't find. You know, he's put his suit on, his shirt's on, you know, and he can't find his cufflinks. So he panics a little bit. He goes to the nearest suit shop. You know, walks in. You know, hi sir, can I help you? Yeah, I really need some cufflinks. Okay, let me have a look. I'm really sorry, sir, we don't have any cufflinks. Okay, not to worry. The man walks out of the shop. The man goes to the next suit shop. Does the same thing. And again, they're out of cufflinks.
Yeah.
Goes to the next shop. And again, they're out of cufflinks. He goes to the next shop. And in this shop, he goes in, yeah, I'm looking for some cufflinks. And, you know, the person at the counter goes, really sorry, sir, we don't stock cufflinks. But you know, what's it for? Why do you need it? Because they asked that one extra question. And the man's like, well, I need it for my shirt, for my wedding. That's happening in half an hour. You know,
Yeah.
He's getting really agitated, really panicking. And it's like, okay, I can't sell you any cufflinks. I don't have any cufflinks to sell you. But I can sell you a shirt that doesn't need them. One extra question, one step deeper, suddenly changes the entire thing. And the man, obviously, buys a shirt that doesn't need cufflinks, goes and gets married, has a happy life. Excellent. But he could have done that at the first shop, the second shop, the third shop, the fourth shop. Yeah, he could have done it anywhere along the way. He could have saved himself a lot of stress and a lot of time. But he got fixated on the fact that he needed cufflinks.
And doesn't that happen to us all so too often?
Oh, so often. Yeah, and you get in your own way.
All the time. And as you know, you and I catch ourselves doing that. That's
Yeah.
a couple of, do you know what I mean? It happens.
Yeah.
Because you're just in your own little world, seeing things in a particular way, and you can't see the wood for the trees.
And storytelling helps break that cycle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, like you say, we'll have conversations about there's no solution to this. We're struggling with this. This is a problem. This, you know, or why don't we do it? Why don't we do this? And then we'll both stop and go, cufflinks.
Yeah.
Let's find a different way. And then we'll both go and look for a different way to do it. And invariably, we find a solution.
Yeah.
But we are aware of that story, so it sticks with us, and we're aware of what we're doing. And you know, we've spent a lot of time studying these sorts of things.
Yeah, I think part of the problem there,
and it makes a difference.
Yeah, is people sometimes see a problem or create a problem just because they have a solution.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Very much so.
And there wasn't a problem in the first place. And again, the conflict story helps with that.
Yep. And so, moving on now. Shouldn't use that word, so.
I know.
It's terrible.
Bad filler word.
Bad filler word. So, also a bad filler word from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah.
And what we're doing here is we're telling you a story.
Yeah.
And we hope you enjoy it. But what makes a good story? So we've gone through the 7 plots that, every story has. The rule of 3, the beginning, the middle, the end, the 3 bears, the, three triumvirates, the power of 3 will set you free, the 3 witches. That 3 is a very powerful, very, very powerful.
Not just in storytelling, in a lot of stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. The power of 3, the rhythm of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ba, 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 ba. That was 4.
In fact, Shakespeare uses that in his writing as well.
Yes, he does. But that's where it all goes. So to begin with, you can tell any story in any way, and there are 100 ways to tell the same story, if not more. We've seen that.
Yeah.
But the first question you've got to ask is, who are you telling the story for? And a great mentor of mine once told me, a lady called Lisa, if you're teaching, tell them a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to do a lot of training and a lot of teaching in my role. And if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you don't know it well enough to explain it.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, I know in what I do, I could teach a 5-year-old the concepts of it, and they would understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they could do the job, but they're 5 years old.
Give them another 6 months.
Give them another 6 months, yeah. But that's aside. The way I used to teach people to do what I do, is by telling stories. And I would, ridiculous as it sounds, because it requires a lot of split focus, I would be like, okay, so imagine you're driving a car. This is what I do for a living every day. And this isn't actually driving a car, but imagine you're driving a car. Right. Now, putting a destination in sat-nav. Okay, so you're following your sat-nav, and you're driving a car. So you've got to do all your gears, you've got to turn left, you've got to turn right. So that for a lot of people is day-to-day, they standard, that's what they do. But for some people, they struggle to follow a sat-nav. So they've got to concentrate on driving. Now you're adding sat-nav in. Okay, now put the radio on, but put it on to a radio station that tells stories, that's got spoken word, not music. That's very important. And then add 2 passengers. Now those 2 passengers can't speak to each other, but they're both having a conversation with you, and you're listening to the story on the radio, and you're following your sat-nav, and you're still driving the car safely. People understood that a lot better than, okay, so you need to listen to 3 people behind you, 2 people on the side of you, you're talking to people down there, and they're like, wait, that's too much. And put it into a story, people understand.
Yeah, but with that, Kieran, you're probably thinking of 100 different things throughout that journey as well. Do you know what I mean? So
and you're having a conversation with 2 different people that can't speak to each other. You're listening to a story, you're following a sat-nav, and you're thinking about your own stuff while you're there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on there.
So
you understood the complexity of what I'm asking people to do.
Yeah, and the power of the human mind.
Yeah.
And the ability,
But if I just said what I do and how to do it,
it'd be dull and boring.
People don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But that people remember.
Exactly.
It's a story. So that's what I would say. First things first, when you're going to craft a story, understand your audience.
Which is key.
Yeah. And it's key in marketing, it's key in sales, it's key in wealth generation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who are you selling to? Why are you selling to? Is it appropriate to sell to?
Yeah. And why you? Why are you selling it?
Why are you selling? Why you?
Yeah.
And if you can answer those questions, then
you've made a start.
You've made a great start. And then understand your audience.
Yeah.
Once you understand your audience, and take the biggest movie making happiness machine on the planet, Disney knows their audience. Disney knows their audience at a theme park. They know their audience on their animated pictures. They know their audience and they spend more money than the next 10 companies combined.
You wouldn't believe.
On knowing their audience.
Yeah.
And the first thing is, how are we going to make our audience feel? How do we want them to feel?
Yeah.
And you take their theme parks, for example. The first thing that happens when you get there, what do they say to you?
As in, but you on your second visit or your first visit?
Welcome home.
Yeah, on the second visit, usually they say welcome home. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome home.
Yeah. The second one, they then said welcome home because they knew I'd been there before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how powerful is that
Yeah.
as a sales tool? And you don't think of it as a sales tool when it happens. And that's the best type of sales tool,
Yeah, of course
in my
it is,
opinion. But someone says to you, welcome, nice to have you, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is this your second trip? Welcome home. This is where you belong.
Yeah.
You're one of us. Let me embrace you.
And that's what people get hooked on it.
And wow, that goes straight to your heart.
And they mean it.
And because everybody wants to feel belonging.
Yeah.
And they understand that. And they understand that on a much deeper level than anyone else.
Yeah. And they do it better than anybody else as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You pay for it, but
But you're happy about paying for it because they've made you feel happy about paying for
they
it.
make you feel happy, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
Sometimes
And that's why they can charge $100 for a balloon.
I know. Well, that's got many different messages, by the way. I should share that concept as well, by the way. But you've got a small, medium, and a large.
Yeah.
And there's 2 or 3 different concepts that they use, which we might talk about on another day.
Wait.
Yeah.
Small, medium. Is that the rule of 3 coming back,
There
Shaz?
you go. You see him. Yeah. And the big ones, precision, like $800. So you're knocked out, Kieran. No, I'm not going to pay $800, okay?
Yeah.
Well, the medium one is $400. I'm just making the price up. I can't remember.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
It's $400. Couldn't count that.
The small's
And the one is
$350.
$150, okay? And little Johnny or Sally says, and Daddy or Mummy, I want that balloon, okay? You think, now, $150 doesn't sound all that bad, doesn't it? To
Yeah.
you? Yeah, and you just pay the $150. Any other place, and place in terms of wealth and marketing is important as well, in terms of place strategy. Any other place, no way would you pay £150 for a balloon.
No, nowhere near.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a 5 cents balloon to make.
Yeah. Price, they've just killed price because of their own positioning and their placement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cinemas do the same with
Yeah.
popcorn.
That's right.
And what's interesting about cinema popcorn is, okay, it's like a 600, 800% markup, something like that. They make a huge killing
big,
on that. But the way
And the
they,
chips for
Yeah.
fries for
Yeah.
McDonald's.
Yeah, the way part of the way they do that is small, £4, medium, £6, large, £6.50.
That's right.
It's only 50 pence more to get, but and as a consumer, you go, oh, it's only an extra 50 pence. Okay, cool. Yeah, fine. Yeah, let's get the large. Do you know what? If we don't finish it, we don't finish it. But
It's only 50%.
but it's only 50p.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you do that to every customer or even half the customers, say you've got 1 million customers going through your doors every year, and there's more than that going to the cinema,
It's a lot of money, yeah.
and half of them go, that's 500,000 people paying an extra 50 pence for something that costs you less than a penny to add to the box. So that's almost pure profit.
100%.
50% times 500,000 people is a lot of money. It's £250,000.
They get the psychology, don't they?
Yeah.
Get the psychology of that. Hence why, obviously, it works incredibly well.
Works incredibly well. And McDonald's, and most fast food chains, do you want to go large? Just the action of asking the question, actually, do I? Yeah, go on then.
And both of those businesses, by the way, in terms of Disney and McDonald's, they've made damn sure, Kieran, that they've shared their story.
Oh,
Whether
yeah.
it's Ray Kroc, okay, or whether it's Walt Disney and how he started, and all the stuff, and, they all started with a mouse, okay? And the whole thing, they've gone to lengths Make
make
sure
sure-
people still remember those stories.
Yeah. Oh, they've gone to great lengths. The world knows those stories.
You know, 'cause they know
Yeah.
you've got to connect them with a person, a figure.
Yeah.
That's where belonging starts.
Yeah.
That's where you resonate,
Yeah. Connect.
and then move on. Which is obviously know your audience.
Yeah.
And then
So that's knowing your audience. Then, and this is what we were just talking about,
Yeah.
is creating your hook,
yes,
which is your, how am I going to connect with you?
to grab your attention. Yeah,
Welcome home.
yeah.
That's your hook.
Get them in. Yeah,
Yeah, get them in. And your hook is always got to be kind of a payoff. So, for example, if you're...
that big promise.
Yeah, make that promise. Welcome home, happiest place on earth, the golden arches.
Yeah,
It's an evocative idea.
yeah.
And it connects with you emotionally. And right the way down to when you're doing something on, a streaming platform or something. Do you want to learn how I did and I became? Do you want to learn my story? Yeah, actually, I do. I'm now interested. I'm now vested because it's a subject I've gone searching for.
Yeah.
And now you're going to tell me your story about how you made it from rags to riches.
Cheers. That's right. Yep.
Suddenly I'm invested because if you can do it, I can do it because you're just a normal person like me, right?
Yep.
And then we're moving on to the next
Yep.
step is make it relevant to, do you want to know how I did this? Yeah, I do. Okay. Because if I did it, you can. I'm not talking to everyone. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, the listener, individually.
One at a time. Yeah.
One at a time. I'm not trying to talk to 100,000 people. No. This is just you and me.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't. You read a book. It's you, the reader. It's not the world. That hundreds of other people are reading the book. Thousands of other people are reading the same book. But when you're reading the book, you are the only reader, and it's only one-on-one.
Yep.
And that creates, which is more
Connection.
impactful? Which is more impactful? A one-on-one connection. I'm having a conversation here with Shaz. There's just the two of us having this conversation. I would love for other people to get involved, but at the moment, it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And a three-way conversation is absolutely fine as well because people can get their head around that. But if I start going, okay, so everybody needs to learn. Whoa. You're disconnecting.
Yeah,
You're
because
depersonalizing it.
I'm thinking I'm not everybody.
No, you're depersonalizing it.
Yeah.
And people don't want,
Yeah.
depersonalization. They want to feel connected to you, because we're human.
Absolutely.
We crave and
We love a good story.
We love a good story and we love a good connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your
A
favorite
good gossip, which as you know, I'm not into. Neither are you. But it's a good story, isn't it?
Yeah. And your favorite stories are ones you connect with personally.
Yeah.
They are experiences you can relate to. And that's why we have the breadth of stories that we do. I mean, okay, we all like a big action blockbuster that is completely ridiculous and has no sense of, any reality.
How dare you talk about James Bond like that, Kieran?
I love James Bond. But that James Bond is a great one. Every man wants to be James Bond. A lot of women want to be James Bond.
We'll have a female Bond soon, I hope.
Yeah, I'm sure. Why not?
Mix it up, shake it up. Yeah, I'm cool with that kind of stuff. Let's try it. See how it works.
I think 007 can be a woman. I think James Bond needs to stay James. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Because the character of James Bond is James Bond.
Jenny Bond.
But 007 is his moniker.
Yes, that's right.
That can be whoever you want.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just think they.
Yeah.
But that's just my personal opinion. I'm willing to watch whatever comes out. Yeah. And that's kind of thing. But you connect with the characters. A majority of the time, very few individuals when they watch films connect with the villain. You connect with the hero, and
Absolutely.
it's been crafted that way for a reason.
Yeah.
Because unless it's a tragic villain,
Yeah.
and then you get a bit of story,
Yeah.
background story to connect with them.
Why they are where they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's not connect that, Kieran, because I think you've given some really good information there about the how to build that story. And obviously, I know there's a lot there.
Yeah.
How do we connect this or use this in terms of wealth? And I'd say the first it would be is no matter what you're selling or doing, is share your own story.
Yes.
Why are you doing what you're doing? If you're an accountant, a doctor, dentist, lawyer, whatever you are,
Yeah.
how, why, when, just share that story with people so they get a sense of why you're doing what you're doing. I think
Well,
that-
I'm doing this because I had a dream,
yeah.
and that dream
Yeah.
is to one day.
There you go.
It's a story.
Yeah. And he was a fantastic orator, as you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
moves you.
Yeah.
And so
But he moved you by telling stories.
that's right.
About when this happened, when that happened. This was my experience.
And the future.
This is what
Give
the
you hope.
future should
Yeah.
be like. Give you hope, give you drive, give you passion, infuse my passion into you.
And all the different devices he used during his speeches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, phenomenal.
Metaphors, alliteration, similes,
Understand the craft.
contrast.
And going into a step further for, because obviously that wasn't necessarily wealth generation, that was more equality.
No, but I tell you what, Kieran, you say that and you're right. But if people want to build a sustainable business,
Yep.
I've always said you need to have a community and a tribe.
Yes, you do.
Well, how do you do that? You do exactly what Martin Luther King and many others have done.
Yeah, you tell the story.
You tell the stories and you build that tribe and you make them part of your family and the home and a safe space and a place.
Yeah.
Okay, and a sense of
Place
belonging.
where they want to be.
Yeah, because you're on this crusade, if I can use that word, together. Whatever
Yes.
business you're in, you're solving a particular problem for people, whether it's in the service industry, whether it's a product, or you're doing something else. Okay, and you're saying, well, this is what I'm against, and if you're against that as well, let's work together and let's move forward, and you'll get A, B, C, 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
as a result.
And
That's when you sell more stuff.
Yeah.
No, for example, I'm an accountant. I'm just going to help you. Like people say, keep you compliant, help you pay the least amount of tax legally, that type of stuff. Yeah. Make sure that your VAT returns are right number. There's got to be more to it than that. Because everybody says that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
But what you do is you become a financial mentor. You've been through this, you've understood it, and you can connect on a level that I've been where you were. I know where this leads, and if you go down that path, it ends here. If you go down this path, here's the story of what could happen.
Yeah.
And suddenly, it's a completely different ballgame.
absolutely.
And also, when you're doing that, and especially true in marketing and sales, is I'm going to do this. I know you've been trying to do this too, and I really appreciate you. You've been fantastic, but it's so hard on your own, isn't it? Why don't we come together? You pay me, and we'll work together, and I will help you get to where I am now, and then you can help the next person. And a rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah.
And phrase, story, and then together we build that community and togetherness.
Yeah.
But it all starts with you understanding
Yeah.
them.
But as Sally standing there, sharing that with her audience and saying, okay, I can help you. What she also does, Kieran, it says, once upon a time, a long time ago, I was
I
where
sat where
you
you
are, okay? And here I had Obi-Wan, Yoda, whoever, okay, come along and showed me the way.
Yes.
Okay? And now I'm in a place
This is the
where
way.
I can be your Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that story, so she's shared with me the problems, so she gets it.
Yeah.
She's met me where I am, okay? She's given me the solution, okay, which I can see, but I can't implement it myself. And she's had the support and the training to do it and the experience. Yes, of course I want to work with you.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with someone once who was a sales speaker, and they asked for some feedback on the sales pitch. And I said, honestly, you're going too hard. And I was like, what do you mean? you're not meeting people where they are. In terms of you could make this amount of money. It's too big. People don't get that side of money. You need to start smaller and build people up.
100%.
Very simple, but they tripled their sale rate for changing that one thing because they met people where they were. They connected with people. And that's the most important thing about sales and marketing is don't try and rip people off. Be a good human. Connect with your audience. Be genuine.
Yeah, and people can smell it a mile up, Kieran.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they really can.
So there's no point. Well, that was more enjoyable than I thought. I'll tell you why, because when you've done something so many times, you think, how am I going to make it more enjoyable, and how am I going to enjoy it as well? And I always think, if we enjoy it,
everyone else
and
enjoys
the
it.
audience will enjoy it too.
Agreed.
So I hope people get value from this and then implement in their businesses and create more wealth and come back and share that with us in the forthcoming episodes. Until next week, take good care.
Stay
See you
tuned to
soon.
Salam Radio after this short